actually, what I think we'll do is take one of each color tiles and you're going to lay them out in a grid. We're going to get everything set up today. Let me see if I can do this so you can see it a little bit better far away, farther back. And then I'll zoom in when we get to tangling. There we go. So we have some people who are joining us for the first time. So welcome, new tanglers. We're happy to have you. I will try to explain everything and why we do what we do. And if I ever go too fast, just ask me to slow down or explain again. Mostly we'll stay muted. I mean, I'll stay unmuted, but you'll stay muted, but you can always unmute to ask a question if anything is unclear. This first session is going to get us all set up for the rest of our set for 3-week sessions. But you'll see that we have 4 tiles in front of us. So one of them you will be doing for homework. But don't worry, you're going to have everything you need to go ahead and do that on your own. And you have 2 of each tile. So if you want to do it again or try something different, you can certainly do that. All right, let's see, we're 14. It is 6:32. So I want to honor your time. Thanks for all being here on time. And let's settle in with a little breathing, a little centering, a little focusing. So go ahead, find a comfortable position and close your eyes if that feels comfortable for you. Let's take some long, slow breaths together. 1 in through the nose and out through the mouth. Again, in through the nose and out through the mouth. 1 more long, slow inhale in and out through your mouth. You can do some neck rolls if you want to release some tension in your head and neck. So maybe dropping your chin to your chest, your right ear to your right shoulder, gently looking up towards the ceiling. You can let your mouth fall open. Left ear to left shoulder, chin to your chest. And then let's go in the other direction. Left ear, left shoulder. Looking up towards the ceiling, letting your mouth fall open, relaxing your jaw. Right ear, right shoulder. And your chin to your chest. And then bring your chin back up level. You can take some shoulder rolls up towards your ears and back, pulling your shoulder blades together. A few of those like that. And then switch direction, shrug up and roll your shoulders forward. Just loosening up, settling in. I like to take a gentle twist in my chair, reaching over to the right, looking over my right shoulder. And then over to the left, looking over my left shoulder. Relaxing my legs and having my feet flat on the ground. Kind of flexing, sort of a seated cat and cow position. You can thrust your chest out a little bit, curve your back, and then go in the other direction, round your shoulders forward, curve in. A couple of those just to get loosened up. Another nice sigh and let it out. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. If your eyes were closed, you can open them. And welcome to Zentangle, first series of fall of 2025. I'm thrilled to be together with you doing this. Thanks to Jane, I've actually spent time prepping for this ahead of time. She reminded me, oh, you might want to think about Zentangle supplies. Um, so I was looking at a lot of the Zentangle tutorials online that come out of the Zentangle headquarters, and I was playing around with some things, and then this series emerged. So what we're going to do for this first little bit of time is a lot of setup and prep for the rest of our classes together. But once we do this, it's going to make everything else easier. So I have laid out one of each of the 4 different colors, making one big square. It doesn't matter the order or the orientation, as long as they're just all touching one another. And we're going to go ahead and pick up, we have these new little layout pencils. This is the graphite one, not the blue one. You have one with a blue, and you also have a white one, but we're using this dark one. And we're just going to make some little marks on all of our tiles that are going to help us with the string, the dividing lines that we're going to use to then put our patterns into. And we'll, for each class, the string on each tile will be the same, but you'll see what's going to happen as it unfolds. So, and if you're new to Zentangle, these little squares are called tiles. And our first step of the Zentangle method is gratitude and appreciation. So we're honoring our time, and we're doing something creative together. We have some new toys to play with, and I'm grateful to be here with all of you. So take a moment and think about what you're grateful for as we head into this practice. Then the next step of the Zentangle method is to put down our string, because once we have anything of any kind on our little tiles, it becomes less scary. It's not a blank slate anymore. We have some guidelines and we know where to go. So what we're going to do is on each one of our tiles, let's see, maybe I'll start with the gray one because it'll be a little bit easier to see. I'm going to go darker so you can see what I'm doing, but you're just going to make light little hatch marks. I'm looking roughly, we're not measuring. There are no rulers in Zentangle, just like there are no erasers. I'm looking roughly halfway at the top, the halfway point along this top edge of this gray tile here. And I'm going to make just a little hash right there. Okay, and I'm going to go down on the bottom. And I'm going to make the same about halfway hash line there. Then I'm going to go to the left side, looking roughly halfway, make a little hash there. And then just opposite on the right-hand side, a little hash mark there. Again, it's not critical that they align exactly. We're just eyeballing it. Okay, and then after we do that, we're going to divide up each of these halves again into quarters. So I'm looking at this space here, back up at the top, looking halfway and making a little hash mark there. Looking halfway on the other side, little hash mark there. All the way around, same thing. You could go down to the bottom next, it really doesn't matter. Looking roughly halfway. So I think these are 4x4s, so each little section that we're dividing is going to be about an inch each. Again, really not crucial. Okay, great. So we're actually not going to need all of these hash marks, but this will just make it so that, when you pick up your tile, you don't have to think about it so much anymore. Okay, so now let's see, do we want to make all the hash marks first, or do we want to lay it out? Let's do all the hash marks first. This is the least interesting part. So we're going to do the same thing on all of the other tiles that are here. And we're going to work to align our hash marks with the ones that already exist. Like, so if I go down here to this tan one, I'm going to do the same thing. Go to the center line and match that hash mark with the other one. And do one there and one there. If you want, You can then turn that tan tile and line up the same edge. You might get more consistency that way. This pencil has a weird bit on it. Okay, there we go. So I'm just turning my tan tile and matching up that set of hash marks along the bottom edge to each edge of the tan. Okay, then I'm going to do the same thing. You can do it on the black. See if so this layout pencil doesn't show up so well on the black. So if you wanted to use your white charcoal to make your marks on the black one, you can do that. If you can see, all of my pencils have broken tips. How is that happening? Okay. I have to find another white pencil. Luckily, I have one nearby. Okay. I know this is not that exciting, but I promise it's going to be fun. And then your last tile, make all your little hash marks. Okay. Does everybody have something like this? Okay. So now this is the real string that's going to happen now. I'm going to start again up in the gray one so it'll be easier to see. We're going to make some arcs, some curved lines, only in this lower section here, this inner section here, like a rainbow. So watch me first. We're going to connect some of these hash marks that we've laid down here. So I'm going to curve one like that. And take your time with this. Then I'm going to go to the next one out. And I'm drawing pretty lightly because I don't want to be bound to this. You know, sometimes we put the lines down and then we ignore them. So these are just guidelines. And then I'm going to go like that. Okay, so we made this little rainbow in our corner here. And we're going to go ahead and do that just on these inner quadrants of each of these tiles. So you don't have to keep them all together like this if you don't want to. So I'm going to do the same thing again on one corner of the tan tile. So I'm going to arch that like that. Connect the next set. And connect the third set. Okay, so you can see what's sort of happening here. We're going to get a circular shape that spans across all 4 of our tiles. I'm going to do the white one next, and then I'll switch to the white charcoal to do the black. Okay, so again, I'm just taking focusing on a corner here, making one curved line to attach those tick marks that we made. Another one. And then another one. Okay. So we've got this, we're sort of making a bullseye that spans across the 4 tiles. And then I'm going to do the same thing, but in white on my black tile. Okay, so once we've done all that, you should have something that looks kind of like that. Was that successful? Good. Okay, great. So hold on to your black tile. All the others we're going to save. We're going to work on the black one tonight. So just gather those up, put them back with your kit. So you also have in front of you, we're going to play around with what's called fragments and reticula. So fragments are shapes, and then reticula are patterns that we put inside the shapes. So let's see, I'm going to go back closer so we can zoom in a bit here. So you see, so this sheet that you have is 2-sided. You have a section that has triangular fragments with all different patterns of reticula inside, and you could do it like a grid and say, I'm going to do F14, right? So this is column F, row 14, and I'm going to make this shape. Okay, so this is how this little guide works. Then if you open it up down here, you have circles. You can say, you know, I'm going to do G23, and you would end up, if you had a circular shape, we could put a little crescent moon pattern in it like that. We're going to play around with a lot of these, but this is going to be your guide to then open up a door for creativity for your homework assignment that you'll have at the end of this series. Okay, so flip over, you can see, and then there's lots and lots of square ones, all the way A through Z, with different, you know, patterns that are in each one. E5 is this beautiful leaf shape, right? What, you know, okay, so this is how this works. These are fragments, shapes with reticula, smaller patterns that we put inside. So all of our lessons together are going to play around with different fragments and reticula, and it's really cool to see what comes out when you do these patterns, and then you get these meta patterns that emerge on top. All right, so that's the idea that we're playing around with this evening. So with our black tile in front of us, we're going to pick up our white Jelly Roll pen. And we're going to start to draw. Take a deep breath. Zentangle is not about the product, it's about the process. It's meant to calm and relax us, not stress us out and make us feel bad that we're not doing it right. Okay? I'm giving you suggestions. There is no right or wrong. Yours is not going to look like mine, nor is it going to look like anybody else's on screen, and it's not supposed to. We're exploring techniques and patterns together to then hopefully let you run free and be creative and just enjoy experimenting. It's a tiny piece of paper. This is not a huge investment. If it really doesn't go your way, you have another one. So don't take it too seriously and just enjoy the ride and see what happens. All right. So let's uncap our white pen. Sometimes these guys need a little bit of an encouragement to get started. So I'm going to flip mine over, and I'm just going to do some circle. Oh, look, it came right out. These white pens work better if you hold them more upright, not less of an angle. The ink will flow more freely. So, okay, mine's going. I also find that the white ones, they don't look like they're very saturated in color when they're still wet. And then when they dry, the white really pops. So they don't like it when you go over the same ink and it's still wet a lot. So, you know, you'll play around with it. Sometimes These ones can be a little finicky, but they're fun. All right, so we're going to start on our innermost arc here, and we're going to go over it with the pen. If there was anything about it that you didn't like, you can sort of adjust now. And then going out away from the corner, we're going to aura that line. Just taking our time. It's a, close aura, not too tight. You have to work a little bit bigger on the blacker tiles because it's not quite as precise as when the colors are reversed. Okay, so we have this one line that we've aura'd. Now we're going to go up to the second line. I'm going to reiterate my pencil line. Again, kind of adjusting if I want anything to look a little different. And then moving out away from this corner, again, same thing, I'm going to aura. Just slow and steady. And you guessed it, we're going to do the same thing with that third string line that we put down. Going over it again. And then aura-ing it. Be mindful of the ink as it first goes down on the tile. It might be a little wet. You don't want to drag your hand through it. That might be just a lefty issue, but okay. All right, so we've got a cute little rainbow in the corner. I have to remember the order of how I did this. All right, so now, oh gosh, you know what? 1, 2, 3. I forgot to have we need one more arch, not a problem. So that's why we have all these other hash marks. I left one out. So write the next one that's outside here. I'm gonna, if you want to do it in pencil first, actually I kind of do. Take your white charcoal again, and we're going to connect this one to this one down here, same archway like we've done with the others. I forgot one. It gives us more space to tangle in. Okay, so after you've made that extra line that I forgot, go back over it with your pen. I knew it looked a little empty. I'm like, something's missing. And aura that one. Sure. Okay, there we go. That looks better. So we'll have to remember to add that extra curved line to all the other ones too, but that's why the hash marks are there. All right, so now we're going to leave this little inner corner alone for right now. We'll come back to that later. But we're going to use the same technique of how we divided up. We found the midline and then divided into quarters again. We're going to do that here with this first archway here. So I'm looking for roughly the middle, and I'm with my pen. I'm going to divide in half like that. And then I'm looking at this section over here, looking for a midline roughly, and dividing in half there. Then I'm going over to the other side here, looking for the midline and dividing there. Doesn't need to be perfect. We're not using a ruler. Doesn't matter if they're not exactly even. It's all good. Okay, so you can see that here our fragments are rectangles. So we can put any number of things inside. We'll get to that in a minute. I want to set it all up. So here we have rectangles, a square-ish shape. Okay, this next one, we're going to put triangles. This doesn't, I haven't figured out how to like divide up for triangles yet. So this we are going to freehand watch me for a moment. We're going to zigzag across this space, you know, like a Charlie Brown shirt kind of a thing. So just watch for a moment and then you're going to go your own way. So just making triangles as I go. I'd like for them to be even-ish, but I'm not really concerned about them being exact. Okay, so I ended up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, but I just really was zigzagging up and around through that space. So go ahead and do that. Okay, and once you've done that, we're going to put a circular fragment in this last archway. I'm saying circular, they are orb shaped. Yours might come out ovally, they might come out, you know, whatever it is there. We're not going for perfect circles. I'm gonna pick a point in the center to make my first one, and then I'm gonna let the other ones fall on either side. And you'll see me do this a lot. I kind of draw it in the air first before I actually put pen to paper. So go ahead and sort of scope out where you want your circle, that first circle to go. See, not at all perfect. That's okay. And then I'm going to go to the left first and then I'll do the right hand side. But let's try to have them touch one another. And then when you get to a spot where you know, at the edge here, you won't have room for a whole one, but just imagine it and let it go off the page. Okay. I actually want to turn my tile to do the others. That's another thing about Zentangle that I should mention. They're small because they're meant to be portable. They're meant to be completed in a reasonable amount of time, and they're meant to be easily moved underneath your drawing hand. So for me, I didn't want to have to go over and around and twist my hand to try to get these circles over here. So I just turn the tile so that my drawing hand stays in exactly the same position, and I can make my circles just the same way as when I was over here on the left-hand side. So feel free to move your tile and keep your drawing hand comfortable. Remember to breathe. Remember to loosen your grip on your pen. I've got super wonky orbs, and that's okay. All right. So now we have all of our fragments. We have our rectangular shaped fragments, our triangular shaped fragments, and our orb shaped fragments. Now we get to put things inside. So for our rectangles, and by the way, if you're looking at your chart and you like a different pattern, go for it and put a different square rectangular pattern inside your square rectangular shape. So I am looking at, on the side that has all the squares on it, I am looking at U3. So U3, is this guy here. Sort of pretty leaf shaped thing. Except to me, this looks upside down. So we're going to draw ours going in a different direction, but I'm looking at U3 if you want it as a guide for our rectangular shape. So I'm going to start in the one that's sort of in the middle so we can see the whole expression of it. I'm going to go ahead and make a curved line from the bottom right of this rectangle to the top left. So something like that. You can go ahead and do that in all of them actually, if you'd like. Or you can do one and then see how the rest go out. So I'm starting for each rectangular shape, I'm starting in the lower right-hand corner and I'm curving up to the top left-hand corner. So we're sort of turning our rectangles into triangles now. Funny shaped triangles. The challenge here with all of these is remembering the original shape so that you're working within that. Maybe it would have worked better to do one at a time so there would be less confusion, but we can do hard things. Okay, so here is our rectangle. Here's the line that we just drew to divide it up. We're going to put some pretty leaf shapes on either side of this line through the middle. So I'm going to start at the bottom right-hand corner, and I'm going to put a leaf, a large-ish leaf on top of the line, and a large-ish leaf on the bottom. And then, so once you make that little leaf shape, you can put a little vein that goes part way up in the middle of each one. And then we're going to continue with more leaf shapes. All the way up the stem. You'll probably get 3 or 4 on either side. I'm looking like I'm going to get 3. I don't know if you want to put little tiny ones at the top, you can do that too. All right. And we're going to do that in the other 3 rectangular quadrants. Same thing, rinse and repeat. So starting in the bottom right-hand corner, leaf on either side. And let them fill the space. You know, maybe not completely, but you know, you'll feel what feels right, how much space they should take up. Take your time. Enjoy that once you've done one of these, you know how to do it and you just repeat. This last one for me is a little bit tricky because I have to imagine where the leaf is coming from on this side. I'm actually going to start with this one as a way to kind of help guide. All right, where do I think this one should go to? Maybe like that. And just imagine where it would be off the paper, off the tile. How we doing? Everyone all right? All right, good. So now we're going to go to our triangles right up above. So let me see, where are we with, if you want to flip over to your triangle key on the other side, we're going to do one that is most like, it's not exact, but most like H12. Okay. So here, we've done these a lot. It's based on a tangle called Tripoli, and they kind of look like Hamantaschen. I like this one. I use this a lot. So H12 is right here if you want to refer back to it. All right, so let's play with that in our triangle shape. So pick one to start with, doesn't matter. I'm going to go with this one right here. And I'm going to start with a curved line on the inside on one side, curved line on the other side, and a third one on the third side. And then I have this little triangular shape left in the middle. I'm going to put an orb inside. And depending on how big your shapes are, if you want to give some more detail, you can add some striping, some lines inside of the little Hamantaschen folds that we've just created. Just give some nice texture on the black tiles. You can see I'm turning my tile again. Okay, so that's one. And we're going to do that same thing in all of our other triangular shapes. So here comes the next one. Curved line, curved line, curved line, orb in the center, and any kind of striping that you might want to put in if you have room. And already you can see that the triangles are going to blend into one another. And we're going to be left with a very cool pattern. So just keep going at your pace. For the ones that you only have a part of a triangle, use your imagination. Think about where the rest of the shape would be. Just fill in what you can. Remember to breathe. And it's so interesting because we know that they're triangles, but you can hardly see them anymore. How are we doing? People still working on their Hamantashen? We get to move on to our orb shapes? Okay, great. All right, so now we're moving on to our orbs. Let's start by putting another orb inside of each orb that's already there. So I'm going to start in the middle, not too small. Well, you're going to look, you'll see. So mine are going to be, I want them to be a little bit bigger than these orbs that we were doing down here. And roughly in the center. Okay, go ahead and do that in each one. If it is not a full one, you can just let it go off. All right. And we're going to use this same technique that we've been working with of dividing up the space so that we can get even segments. So we're going to do that with our orb. I'm going to start in the center and I'm going to make a line from that middle orb out to the outside. And then right opposite it on below, I'm going to make another one. And then I'm going to do the same over here and over here. And I'm just going to keep dividing up these spaces. So now I'm going to divide this space, this quadrant, in half. This one. So we're making spokes, we're making a sun shape, we're making a kind of a flower shape, but it just allows us, I often find that sometimes when I go just spoke around a shape, my spoking lines get all slanted and wonky. So this helps to keep them a little bit more evenly spaced. And then we're going to divide each of those sections one more time. You might have room to divide further. So you do whatever is going to work best on your tile. Okay, so it's a wheel, it's a flower, it's a sun. And what we can do to give it a little bit more personality is kind of rounding each of these little wedges. I'm just going over with my white pen and just kind of curving. So it makes those wedges look a little bit more like petals. And it's okay if you go over some of your other lines a little bit. So there we end up with a pretty shape like that. So we're, oh, like, let's see, does this one have a one that's sort of like it on here? Not so much. No, there isn't one on the circular on your sheet here, but that's part of the fun is you're going to figure out your own fragments, reticula to put inside the fragments. Okay, so let's go around and let's do this very same thing to all your other orbs that are here. And this is where the meditation comes in. So we're trying new things, you're learning, we're exploring together. But now we've done this shape once and you can just relax into the repetition of doing it, I don't know, 5, 6 more times and just enjoy that process. You know where you're going, you know how to get there. I'll talk through it again if you need me, but if you don't, just do your thing. So we're going to divide top to bottom and then side to side. Dividing up each quadrant again. And then if you have room, each section one more time gets divided. And then you can round the tops of each of these little wedges, shape them a little bit into more flower petal type shapes. They may sort of overlap each other a little bit, just draw behind. Imagine where it would fall behind the other one. Turning your tile, relaxing your shoulders away from your ears. Sometimes I like to mix it up. So I just did the spoking, but I'm like, I don't want to do the rounding just yet. I might go do some other spokes on some of these other shapes and then come back. You don't have to do each one in exactly the same order. If you feel your attention being drawn elsewhere, go for it. When you're working on these partial ones, use your imagination. Or if you want to draw on your tabletop and finish the shape, you could do that too. Okay, so I wanted to kind of do all those spoking lines. I'm going to go back around and do the rounding. Don't forget, occasionally you can sort of pull back from your tile and take a look at it from a little bit farther away. I know I've just found myself really hunched over it, very close in, but every now and then just look at it from a little bit of a distance. Gives you a different perspective. Helps you to see where you might want to go next. You've heard me say lots, if you have tangled with me before, most tiles go through an ugly duckling phase where you're looking at it saying, I'm not sure about this. And almost always by the time we're finished, you will be happy with the results. I find the black tiles with white pen is even a bit more challenging. It doesn't come as naturally, but it's a fun exercise to play around with it. Doing Zentangle gives us a chance to focus on something other than the things that we think about all the rest of our days. Give yourself permission to set responsibilities and obligations and worries and anxieties aside. They're not gone. They'll be there waiting for you when you're done with this tile, but give yourself permission to just focus on each pen stroke, each little shape that we're making, as if it is the most important thing in this moment. That's the real gift you give yourself when you take time to do Zentangle like this. All right, that's looking kind of pretty. Okay, let's address this tiny little lonely empty corner down here. It needs some attention and some love. If you're not finished with your flower shapes up at the top, you know what to do with them. You can always come back and finish them after. All right, so every center on each of our tiles that we're going to do is going to look pretty much the same. So this is the one constant that's going to tie all of our 4 tiles together. I mean, they all have the same string also, but this will be kind of a unifying center. All right, so it's kind of a similar idea, just in miniature inside this little space of these arches that we've drawn on our tile. So in the little corner at the edge, make another little arch. I'm just going straight in with my pen. I don't think we need to do it in pencil first. And then we're going to color that in. Press very, very lightly with your pen. And try not to go over the ink that's already down too much. It'll brighten as it dries, I should say. I was going to say darken, but. All right. Then when you're done with that, aura, that little nub that you put in the corner. Okay, then a slightly larger, wider aura above that. And let's use this same technique of dividing up the space. So find a center line, then divide in half, and divide in half. If you have room, divide each one in half again. If you don't have room, just leave them with what you have. If you like, you can color in every other rectangle. Okay, another snug aura around that. If you run out of room, if you have one less of these little patterns that I'm doing here, that's fine. And then, so with this space, this archway that I have left, I'm just going to make an aura that goes through the middle. I'm just dividing it up. And in the lower one, I'm going to put some orbs. Like that. And you know what? Let's put another smaller orb in the center that doesn't, I'm not going to color in the whole orb. I'm just going to make a small filled orb in the middle of each one of these orbs that I just made. That it doesn't touch the outside. It just floats inside. And then with this aura here, I'm leaving that outer one untouched, but I'm just going to do some stripes in here. And I didn't bother to do the dividing.
Micah, you're off.
Sorry.
Can you push up higher?
Yep. Just doing little lines, little stripes. I'm not going to color these ones in. I'm just giving some texture. So before we move on to some shading or highlighting or whatever we want to call it on a black tile, I feel like, by the way, if you haven't tangled with me before, I like to fill every nook and cranny. it's really hard for me to stop. I'm proud that we're even leaving this little corner untouched for now. You may want to, fill that in on your own, but we're not going to do it now. But I have all these little interstices, all these little spaces in between shapes that I want to put stuff in. Um, but I don't want to make it so that you can't really tell what is happening. But so you're going to have to listen to your tile. You may have slightly different shapes than I do, and what I'm going to do now might not work for you. But I encourage you either to leave it alone if you feel like it's in a good place, or come up with a little enhancers to go in these interstices. I'm going to put little triangles because I see it's a triangular shape. And I'm just going to put a little triangle, not touching anything else, inside. And they're going to be different shapes because my orbs were different shapes. But I just feel like it needs a little bit of love in these little spaces here. So if you have room for that and that speaks to you, you can go ahead and do that. I'm going to do it up on the top too, in the spaces where there's room. I also think I'd like to create a little bit more contrast in this band that used to be triangles. So if you have room around your orb, I'm going to go ahead and color those little spaces in white. It's going to make those black orbs in the middle stand out. If you don't have room and it feels like it's just going to, you don't feel too smushed or it won't work, you don't have to do this. So I like this stage of working on a Zentangle tile. You kind of, all right, I put down all the patterns. Now how do I give each area, go back over it again, give it some love, listen to it, find out what it needs. I like this part. I mean, I like it all, but this is fun. Because even if you go in with some kind of a plan, you always have options along the way. You should always feel free to change course, do something different than what you had thought. From the minute we started tonight, I'll show you what I had planned and then what we ended up with. It's similar, but not the same. And then these leaves, I feel like there's some empty spaces here. I think maybe like some tiny triangles down here in this space. Maybe up here too. And maybe the edge of the triangle kind of follows the shape of the leaves. It doesn't have to be exactly a triangle. Just kind of auraing the inside of the shape here. Yeah, something like that. Okay. So I think that's good for inking. Let's add some highlights. I don't really like to try to shade on a black tile. You can use a graphite pencil. to darken the white pen. I don't love how that looks. I find that the graphite ends up looking shiny on the black and not effective as a shading technique, but some people really like it and some people do it really well. I think maybe I just haven't mastered it yet. But so I'm not going to use a black, the graphite pencil. I'm going to use the white charcoal, and I think let's play with the blue a little bit. That'll be fun. So let's start by taking our white charcoal pencil, and inside each of these orbs, inside our Hamantaschen shape, just like we did with these, but with our charcoal pencil, I'm going to make a little circle inside, and I'm going to have one side of the circle be more white and then kind of really lighten up my touch and have the other side be just a little bit of white. You could even just like kind of do a little half smiley face circle. You don't even have to make a whole circle, but I'm not going to touch the outer edge of the orb. I'm just going to go inside. Yeah, I think it works better if you do like a little curved shape inside. And then, I don't know if I had you take it out earlier. Go find your tortillon. This is a blending stick, a blending stub. You can take your tortillon to the white and just kind of blend it in a little bit. And they turn into like these cool little pearls. Again, I'm not touching the edge of the orb. I'm leaving that ring of black intentionally. I'm going to do the same thing with these that are sort of inside our flower shape. This little curve of white, like a moon shape or a back. I'm doing a backward C, but I think that's because I'm a lefty. You could make a C. That might make more sense to you. And then I'm going to take my tortillon and turn that into a shaded, a highlighted circle inside. Now I'm going to pick up my blue, and I didn't have the blue when I was practicing, so I'm not totally sure what we're going to do with the blue yet. I think if you have a little stripe down here that you were working on, let's go in and just add a little bit of blue to every other. It's not super blue on the black, but be a little bit of something interesting down there. Maybe we add a little bit of blue to these leaf shapes, like along the center vein. Then we can blend it with the tortillon and see what happens there. So I just put a little blue down the center line of each of those little leaf shapes. Oh, that looks cool. I like that. You can always go back in, add a little bit more if you feel like it needs something else. I haven't used these blue charcoal a lot, so kind of learning how they behave. Let's do a little of that on the corners of the triangle too. So I'm just adding a little bit, the intersection of all of those lines. And then I'm taking my tortillon and kind of blending that in. I'm not going to go all the way to the center. I'm going to leave the center dark. Just highlight those corners. We could have done it the other way around too, highlighted the centers. And then, what do we want to do with the blue on the flowers? Maybe a little bit radiating from the center. Something like that. And then blending with the tortillon. Yeah, I think that works. Or what about if we went the other way? I'm just trying stuff now. Yeah, you could go either way. Start from put the blue in the center radiating out, or from the top down. And now I'm going to alternate every other one, do it differently. And some people like to add all of the color first, the blue, and then shade all of it all together, or if you want to go one shape at a time. Either way, whatever feels good for you. The blue is nice on the black, it's subtle. There, I'm pretty happy with that. If you're bothered by your hash marks that are left over, you can always tangle on them. You could fill all the way to the outside of the square. I'm kind of shading. You could shade the whole thing. We could put a little bit of blue in these tiny triangles. When you feel like your tile has enough going on, hold it out at arm's length and appreciate it. Look at it from different angles, turn it around. See how it catches the light in different ways. And then you can turn it over. Have some lines on the back. So when we've done with our tile and we've appreciated, then we're gonna, oh, we have to put our chop on it. I forgot. That's what we're gonna do in this space. So on every tile, we put something on the front of it that identifies it as ours. And then we also write our names on the back. So a chop can be anything. Often it's an initial, it could be a symbol, whatever you want it to be. Mine has evolved over the years, but usually it's just an M. And you can tuck that anywhere. I'm gonna put mine kind of hanging out in this area over here. Just some way that you know, this was mine. Because if we were together in person, we'd do a mosaic and we'd put all of our tiles together on a table and admire them all together. We'll do it on Zoom also, but then this way, if they were out on a table physically, then you'd know, that's mine with the M on it. And you'd recognize it, because you'd be surprised how easily they blend together, and it becomes difficult to tell which one was yours and who did each one. So after your chop is on the front, then you can turn it over. You can put your name on it. Let's put the date. Today is the 5th of November, 2025. And we were playing around with fragments and reticula. And this is going to be one of 4 of a matched set that you're going to make. All right. So in a minute, we're going to do our mosaic, but I want to go back and add that one more line on each of our other tiles that I forgot to have us do, just so that we're set up and we don't have to, I won't forget next week. So just go back into each one of your tiles and that make one more rainbow arch along the top edge. So then it's there and we won't forget. Great. All right. So now those are ready to go. So I'm going to take my spotlight off. How do I do that? Nope, not that.
Cantor, you said we have homework?
Yes, we'll talk about that in a sec.
Okay.
So first, if everyone would hold up their tile to their camera so that we can make our Zoom mosaic and take a look at everybody's beautiful tiles. How did it go for you? Ooh, Meg, beautiful colors. Love that. These are fantastic. How did you find it? I like Carly and Misha, you're half done already because you have 2. So do the rest of the Pollards. There you go. Yeah, now you got it.
There you go.
Awesome. These look amazing. How did it feel? Was it enjoyable? Little something different? Amy, you have a cat on you.
I have a cat on me. She's very helpful while I'm trying to tangle.
Oh my goodness. That is funny. Great.
Oh, look at that cutie pie. Where's she?
So you don't have to do your homework this week. It's just that I want us to have 4 tiles to complete the square, and we only have 3 classes. So I would actually say let's wait, because I'm going to give you more patterns, more fragments and reticula as we go on over the next couple of weeks. So maybe wait to do your extra tile, but you also have another color, another one of every color. So feel free to experiment. Just leave your one of each, so we'll probably do the gray and the tan together, and I'll probably leave you with the white to do for homework. But if you want to play around with all the other tiles that you have, go for it. All right, does that make sense? Awesome. So thank you for tangling together this evening. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll be back together, same Zoom link, same time, 6:30 to 8 next Wednesday and the following Wednesday. And
Thank
I'll
you.
be sure to get this recording up online as soon as possible so that if you wanted to go back and watch it again, you can. But you also have this guy, and you can play around with whatever you want with these as well. In the meantime, it's a lot of fun.
Thank you.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
Thanks so
Jake.
much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Micah.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.